Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, for the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews. Press 1.
Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Leo Quinones is the film freak.
Hey people, this is Paul Stanley of Kiss. Now before the film freak, you gotta know Leo was a Kiss freak, and he still is to this day, that's right. Forget about movie critics, forget about music critics. You're listening to Leo the Film Freak, coast to coast. Whoa, yeah!
Yeah! All right. I do feel uptight. Rock and roll history, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the one and only Kiss. Guess what? In 1999, Detroit Rock City, the movie, was unleashed upon the populace, and it is now, 16 years later, become a cult classic with a brand new edition. This is the Blu-ray. It's been remastered, and I could sit here and talk about it by myself. How boring would that be? Pretty boring. Leo Quinones with you. I'm not a movie critic, as you can tell, because I love Detroit Rock City, and movie critics aren't supposed to love this movie, even though they probably do, as a guilty pleasure. So, with that said, one guy put it all together, Gene Simmons, but I have the director in studio of Detroit Rock City, my good friend, the one and only, extraordinarily talented, working on a million things, doesn't drink a drop, and you gotta love him for that. My good friend of the show, Adam Rifkin. Adam, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Always happy to be here.
Oh, my God. So you get this script from Carl Dupree, or how did it work? How did it even work?
The way it came about was I was directing a film at the time called The Chase.
Oh, wait a minute. This is with Christy Swanson and Charlie Sheen.
Christy Swanson, Charlie Sheen, Henry Rollins.
And you know what Charlie Sheen said about her?
What?
I was doing it was a sci-fi movie that Charlie Sheen was in the late 90s. And he said about his co-star, Christy Swanson, he goes, I swear if a thought ever crawled in her head, it would have died of loneliness.
Well, he said that they had a complicated relationship.
How? You were there, and you were filming.
There were some ups and downs, but everybody.
The sex. You're talking about the sex.
Everybody got along great, and
what were the ups and downs? Statute of limitations has run out. You can't really say as a filmmaker, can you? It's kind of like a lawyer-client privilege.
Until people are dead. There's no. Truth of the matter is. They got along great. She's great. He's great. The movie was a blast to do. And while we were in the editing room cutting The Chase, the assistant editor was a fine fellow named Carl Dupree.
Okay.
Who was an aspiring writer. And he wrote a script called Detroit Rock City. And he asked me to read it and get to give him some thoughts about it. And
here's a thought. I'm going to do it.
Well, this was years before we did it.
Yeah.
So he asked me what I thought, and I said I thought it was a great script, but I didn't think it was going to be an easy movie to get made. One, because Kiss, it kind of required the original members of Kiss to be all in it together, and they were not together at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And also, Gene Simmons, as you may or may not know, is notoriously brilliant when it comes to...
Your idea, my money.
Correct.
Okay.
So it would have been cost prohibitive to buy the Kiss songs and to license the Kiss likenesses for a small movie. But I said to him I thought it was a great script and maybe it would be a good writing sample. What happened after that is he got it to a producer named Barry Levine. Barry Levine...
famous photographer, all the great Kiss shots.
Correct. He was Kiss's main photographer during their heyday in the 70s. He was then just starting to pursue producing, and he got it to Gene. And Gene loved the script, attached himself and the band and the likeness and the music to the project, and then together they partnered up with a third producer named Kathleen Haas, who I happened to be dating at the time, and she brought it to me and said, I'm putting together this movie with Barry Levine and Gene Simmons. You should probably give it a read. Maybe it's something you'd want to do. And I said, Detroit Rock City, not only have I already read it, but yes, count me in.
Oh, did you say, those are my notes, biatch? Those are my comedy notes in there. Did you punch it up? What did you do for Carl's script in its first state? I mean, Kiss fans probably don't even know this.
I did a polish on the script. I mean, just something that any director who is also a writer would do. I didn't do anything that changed the intent of the script. Carl loved the rewrite. We all went into it, guns blazing as a cohesive unit together. But as a director, it's my job to make the movie as much of my vision as possible. So I took his script, gave it a little bit of what I thought it needed for to make myself happier with it, and then we took it to New Line Cinema, where Tim Sullivan was working at the time.
Let's get him on the phone. Tim Sullivan.
Tim Sullivan was working at New Line Cinema at the time.
Almost in the mailroom. He started at the bottom, did he not?
He did. And when the project... And he had already had a history with Gene Simmons. He was a mad Kiss fan for years and had a friendship with Gene Simmons. And he brought the project into Mike DeLuca, who was the president of the studio.
Greenlit Austin Powers and so many great movies.
And then greenlit Detroit Rock City. And from the first meeting we had at New Line Cinema to our first day in Toronto prepping the film was 3 weeks.
Whoa, wait.
Yeah.
From greenlight to prep? Wow.
From the first meeting to the first day of prep, 3 weeks. We were in Toronto within 3 weeks prepping.
What was the budget on Detroit Rock City?
The budget originally was $15 million. The reason that it went up is because in post-production, we did our first test screening. And in the test screening, we put all of our favorite choices for music in the movie. All the classic rock hits from the era. We knew we couldn't afford them all on a $500,000 music budget, but we just put everything in for the first test screening. All our dream music. And the test screening went so well, and the test scores were so high, that the studio said, just pay for all the music.
Whoa.
So the budget went up in one phone call, $2 million more just in music rights.
And it was not just one Detroit Rock City soundtrack, a subsequent, because there were so many good. You guys just packed it.
There were so many songs. If we wanted to, we could have put out half a dozen Detroit Rock City soundtracks. But there's just so many great songs in it.
There's somebody actually watching who hasn't seen Detroit Rock City. Synopsis: 4 guys trying to get into a Kiss concert. That's it.
That's pretty much it. And everything, they try to get into a Kiss concert and everything goes wrong along the way.
And you cast from Entourage a very young Emmanuel Shrieky, did you not?
Yes, I did.
I mean, what did you see then that everyone is seeing now?
Well, she's just so talented and funny and beautiful. She was just great. And it was instantaneous. I knew she had something and I cast her immediately. Natasha Lyonne, exploded off of Slums of Beverly Hills. We were lucky to have her. And then the 4 main kids, they all came into audition. Eddie Furlong had a name, from Terminator 2 and from a couple other films that he had coming out around that time. But we were lucky he wanted to do it. And then Giuseppe Andrews was the first person to come into audition.
We're going to be talking about Giuseppe and his career and the way it's splintered into just his own world, which is awesome. That's coming up. Okay, then you had...
And then James DeBello came in.
Yep.
3 of the 4 kids came in the first day to audition. Our casting director really had her finger on the pulse. Valerie McCaffrey is her name, and she brought in 3 of the 4 in the first day of auditions. It took us a long time to find Jam. We couldn't find him in L.A., Sam Huntington sent in a tape from the East Coast.
Yeah.
We fell in love with him and cast him.
In the opening scene of Detroit Rock City, you got 4 guys. You got, let's see if I get it right, Lex, Jam, you have Hawk, and
Trip.
4 guys. And they're singing in a basement in middle America. Detroit, actually.
Cleveland.
They have to make a road trip. Eddie could be the worst sounding voice I've ever heard. Now, you had to mix that and you had to film that. And did you sweeten it on the side of horrid, or was it just natural horridness from Eddie Furlong singing? So bad. So bad.
One of the things that made the characters endearing was their
They weren't kissed.
Was their dreams of being kissed that we knew were not going to be fulfilled.
Oh my God! And then again, probably the sweetest person I've ever met in doing 18 years of the show. A woman who now represents Satan to me because she burned the 4 vintage Kiss tickets. The one and only Lynn Shay.
Phenomenal.
I mean, the feathered hair.
Yeah.
The Christianity is the only way. I smoked the cigarette. Let's talk about Lynn Shay.
Lynn Shay blew all of our minds in Something About Mary.
Yeah, Magda.
Yep, and also Kingpin.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't that bad. What is it about good sex that makes me want to take a crap?
She was so funny in those movies. And again, we were so lucky that she agreed to be in Detroit Rock City. And her character, the villain of Detroit Rock City, has become iconic.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's go back. How many days were you on filming? Not including the Kiss stuff. The concert scene.
The Kiss concert was only one day.
They had one day off of their tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many days did we shoot?
Well, let's ask Tim Sullivan.
He may remember, actually.
Associate producer.
Hello, everybody.
Timmy, how are you, stud?
What would the Blu-ray release of Detroit Rock City be without the participation of one of Detroit Rock City's greatest rock soldiers, Leo Q?
Do you remember our crazy radio show we did in 1999, guys?
Yes, I do.
I have it. I have it on cassette. It's unbelievable. We had like everybody calling in.
Who was on that?
Peter, everybody, Shannon, Lynn. It was awesome.
Yeah, I remember Ace Frehley goes, I want to thank everybody at 97 point something. Timmy, it's great to have you on. I just
Hey, Leo.
Yeah, buddy.
Adam.
Hey.
It was a 60-day shoot, Adam.
60-day shoot.
months.
60-day shoot.
What do you remember about it, Tim? Because this had to be a dream come true for you. You made it authentic as far as getting all the period pieces intact.
Well, it was just, it really was the greatest experience of my life, and it continues to be the project that I am most proud of. I've been blessed to go on and try to be like Adam Rifkin and write and direct my own stuff.
You have.
But this was truly a culmination of everything in my life up to that moment in terms of my, friendship since I was in high school with Mike DeLuca, who at the time was running New Line Cinema and greenlit the film. My obsession with Kiss, my relationship with Gene Simmons and my film, it was just everything coming together. And the thing that's been so great about it is it really is the one project that has just made lifelong friends such as you, Leo, and Adam. And in Hollywood, relationships last maybe 2 years. So like our 16-year friendship is like 80 in non-Hollywood years, right, Adam?
That's right.
Well, I'm going to let Tim and Adam have at it for a little bit, and let's talk about all the, right down the line, all the cool things that are available on this new Blu-ray of Detroit Rock City. Tim, why don't you start?
Well, first of all, absolutely nothing new. It is. I am just thrilled that this movie is on Blu-ray and that Warner Brothers fronted the $100K to restore it to 4K. $100K for a 4K restoration. What happened was Adam and I had been working with the Warner Brothers home video department for over a year to do a retrospective documentary that kind of, showed how the film started slow out of the gate, but definitely found its audience and following and cult status, and a sort of where are they now? I mean, so many of the people have gone. Adam had such an astute eye for casting. So many of the people have just gone on to such big things. Natasha Lyonne is on Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
Eddie Furlong is still in jail. Everybody's done a lot of really good things, But anyway. So, and then we had the Holy Grail, which is, I was determined that I was going to, not let this film be finished before I initiated a Kiss recording session. So, we needed a version of Detroit Rock City for the end of the film that really fit Adam's needs in terms of how long he wanted it to be and directing and all that. So we got all 4 of the band members, Ace, Paul, Peter, and Gene, into a recording studio. In about 8 hours, they went from having nothing to a finished product that is like a really cool garage version of raw Ramones punk-style version of Detroit Rock City that was the 4 of them, produced by Tommy Thayer.
Wait a minute. Timmy, that was broadcast over the radio, was it not?
It was on your show.
That's right. You're damn right, buddy.
It is the only time anybody heard it on your show, and we unfortunately never made it onto the soundtrack by some weird mistake, and that entire session was documented and videoed, and we had planned to do a documentary about it for this, and unfortunately what happened was, the Warner, with almost the way the industry is changing, Warner's home video department basically got wiped out. And with it, any catalog title is pretty much just going to be, what was on DVD put on Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
But I was with KISS yesterday on the Warner Brothers lot. I did attend a private screening and did talk to the Warner Brothers, the one guy who's last man standing, and he said that, if the sales for this continue and the interest continues for Detroit Rock City like it is, that we can revisit this very soon and see if we can maybe get these extras out like as digital downloads, in the digital download medium. And also the price tag of this Blu-ray is so reasonable. I mean, I've seen it going for like, $12 on Amazon,
mm-hmm.
that hopefully fans won't feel like they're double dipping if they, down the road have more stuff that is available to them.
Well,
that's all about, that's the fans shouting it out by buying this Blu-ray and supporting this Blu-ray.
Well, Timmy, what if KISS only had one greatest hits album? Come on.
Yeah, I know. How many times? Let's be honest. How many times do you really need to see KISS? It's not like they changed up that much.
Well, let's talk Turkey, guys, and Adam, take the lead. So this has been restored. So let's talk about specs, visual, wonky, if you will. Why is it so much better now, and why are you so happy as a filmmaker now?
Well, the 4K, the new 4K version just is cleaner, clearer, crisper, brighter.
Wow.
Better than it's ever looked before.
Is that a frame-by-frame thing that they do?
Yeah, it's why it costs $100,000.
So what? Give me a little bit of the process here.
Well, it's a highly secretive process. That
you're kidding, right?
Actually, they literally take the original camera negative and they scan like when the movie was first put out on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as a scan of the film,
right?
A 35 millimeter print. With this, they go back to the actual negative and scan the negative, and then frame by frame color correct it digitally to just make it pop like a comic book. It's just the difference is like it's insane. It just looks so sharp, so vibrant.
It's true.
It feels like it was just made.
Why don't we have a screening? Why don't we do a screening?
Love to.
Well, that's what Gene Simmons said yesterday. I told him about this, and he says, why don't we screen this? Let's do Midnight Run. I think we should do an anniversary screening, and you should host it, Leo, and we definitely should. I mean, the film...
Yeah.
You could literally just screen the Blu-ray. That's how amazing it is, that you could just take the Blu-ray and screen it, and it'll look amazing. But we could get the 4K master from Warner Brothers.
I've already got the green light from Krikori in Buena Park, a beautiful theater.
Beautiful, perfect.
Yeah, and we could knock it out there. So we have a discussion.
Anytime, man. Anytime. I was, like I said, I was with KISS yesterday, and I showed them, the film, and Gene was just so happy, and he was just like, we got to do screenings. He says, this film is, criminally underrated.
Was Paul with you? Was Paul Stanley with you?
I say that with full humility.
Was Paul Stanley with you?
Yes. It was the entire band. It was Tommy and Eric and Paul and Gene at a Warner Brothers screening yesterday.
Oh, my God. It must have been incredible. What was their reaction to it?
it was interesting. Like, Paul, it's a mixture, and I think Adam and I have the same mixture. It's a mixture of pride and bittersweet because, I've done a lot of stuff, and I know when stuff is good. I know when I've hit a double, when I've hit a single, and when I've hit a grand slam. And with all due respect to my other films, I love them all, but I feel that Detroit Rock City is the only real grand slam that I've been a part of. So when it first came out and just was, basically crucified by critics who I think were suffering not so much didn't like the film, they just were suffering from Kiss fatigue at the time. I think, and even Gene will admit it. It was, the reunion came out in 1996, and by 1999, I think the novelty and the welcome had worn out for Kiss and all their merchandising. And rather than review the film, most of the reviews just said, "Oh, we've had the Kiss condoms, the Kiss coffins, and now shut down our throat the Kiss movie." And it was like, well, why don't you talk about the movie? And luckily, films ultimately are not just judged by how they perform in the first 3 days.
Well, Timmy, let me jump in. Let me jump in because I think you touch on a great point here. And Adam Rifkin's here, Tim Sullivan is here. We're talking about Detroit Rock City. I believe the worst thing that's ever happened to movies is Rotten Tomatoes. And I wrote an article for filmfreak.com.
Absolutely right.
50 rotten movies that I love, which include The Notebook. Great movies that I really enjoyed, and movies that were just meant to be comedies. And I think sitting at a high rotten rating of 46% is Detroit Rock City, which I think is bullshit. And I just want to know from you two filmmakers, how do you guys feel about this aggregating reviews and then running, this rotten rating? I think it's the worst thing ever.
I'll tell you this. I was entirely against it until my documentary Giuseppe Makes a Movie just got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So now I'm a firm believer in Rotten Tomatoes.
Adam Rifkin, not a sellout. He's so honorable.
So in reference to Detroit Rock City, yes, Rotten Tomatoes is total bullcrap. In reference to Giuseppe Makes a Movie, Rotten Tomatoes 100%. It's a great thing. Badge of honor.
Oh my God.
No, listen. The thing that's amazing about the cult status that has grown, the success that has grown over Detroit Rock City is that it was completely 100% organic. It was not in any way crafted or pushed or finagled or anything. The movie.
And what do you mean by that?
I'll tell you exactly. The movie came out theatrically, and it bombed. Not to sugarcoat things, it bombed. Right? It didn't make any money theatrically. And then everybody just figured, well, that's that. That's the last anybody's going to ever hear of this movie. Too bad. We felt we made a good movie. When the movie started hitting home video, cable, and free television, little by little, people started discovering it because they had avoided it prior to that, thinking that a lot of people who love the movie are not Kiss fans, and they said, well, why would?
But also they avoid it because they didn't know it exists. It's very hard to see a movie that isn't out anywhere in theaters.
That's true too.
When you talk, you can make any movie a hit by just deciding to put a billboard on every fucking block, and just basically tell people that, you got to go see Transformers 4 over 4th of July or you're not a good American.
Right.
And, so, there was no marketing. When we started the movie at New Line, and I was working there, New Line had an envious marketing team that could sell Acme to teenagers.
Wow.
And then, lucky us, just when it came time for Detroit Rock City to be promoted and marketed, the genius there quit, and they got these two soccer moms who couldn't sell toilet paper to someone who just took a shit.
Oh, boy.
And they thought that Led Zeppelin was, the Hindenburg, and they did not know what they had, and they didn't really care because they inherited it from the prior regime, and they just dumped it.
Well, and because of that, and because it didn't make money theatrically, everybody just figured that was that. But once it hit the home video market and the television market, fans just started discovering it and talking about it.
Globally.
They just started watching it, talking about it, trading tapes and discs back and forth with each other, and the cult status that it achieved grew purely by grassroots.
And I mean, and the other thing that was unbelievable, and is it inspired an entire skateboard company culture. There's the band in the movie Mystery. Mystery is that they didn't license it, and they probably owe us a lot of money. But still, the Mystery logo is on skateboards, all over the world.
Wow.
And there's so many people, every time I wear a Mystery shirt or T-shirt, I mean, everybody stops, and they know what it is because Mystery is the band in Detroit Rock City, and there's an entire skating culture that just is the Mystery skating culture. It's amazing.
All right, Tim. Hey, listen, we got to get this screening underway of Detroit Rock City, and we're going to do it in Buena Park. I can tell you, I already got the venue. It's a beautiful venue, so we'll be talking about that. Hey, listen, I want to thank you for jumping in, and congratulations on this new.
I got to go to the dentist now. I would rather be with you, but I got to get a cavity filled.
Get it handled, brother. All right, and a little extra shot of gas. All right. Have a good one. All right, buddy. Tim Sullivan.
I'll see you at the screening, and take care, Adam.
See you, man.
All right. Fantastic. Oh, man. Again, it was great to see Tim Sullivan. I remember when he was working on that, I went to the Toronto. A lot of people don't know this. I went to I wanted to be in the film no matter what.
Yeah.
So I just bought I bought a ticket to Toronto to do the concert recreation scene. Cobo Hall was recreated, and what a day that was for you, Adam.
That was a career highlight for me. I'd never directed 10,000 extras before. I felt like I was shooting a battle sequence.
Did I give you what you needed?
Wait. Let me remember. You were the spec to the far left.
I was in my Paul Stanley gear.
Yeah, I remember.
Anyways, so again, it was a fantastic concert sequence where you had to put all the Kiss pyrotechnics and all of it into one song, Detroit Rock City. What a great denouement!
It was a blast.
Oh God, just take me through it.
Well, we had Kiss for one day. Mm-hmm. Getting it up and organized was a Herculean effort. Like I said, we had 10,000 extras. We had paid for 500 extras and then put the word out to Kiss fans that they could come and see a free Kiss concert if they show up and be in the movie, and then we would raffle off also a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
A bunch of Kiss stuff. So we had about 10,000 people show up.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Love Gun stage, 78.
Yeah, we recreated the whole 1978 tour stage. And we had about 14 cameras, mm-hmm. and the band. It was very funny. Gene, who was also one of the producers of the film, the whole process a dream to work with. His philosophy as a producer is that in a creative dispute, the director always has the final say. It was a beautiful working relationship, but he couldn't kind of get at times Ace clear on why we were putting all of one show's worth of pyrotechnics into one song.
Yeah.
Because when the time came for the guitar to smoke,
yeah.
he said, "No, the guitar doesn't smoke in this song." And Gene was like, "No, don't worry, Ace. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna do everything in one song. We're gonna make it one big whole show within one song." And no, but listen, they were all great, and they were like the Marx Brothers working with them. They did nothing but give each other crap. Crack jokes. It was really funny.
Wow. Again, a dream come true. And again, when you're talking about recreating a Kiss concert, there's really nothing quite like it. And how would technology have made the shoot different, this concert scene? What would you do differently with today's technology?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily want to do things differently because part of the fun of it was really having 10,000 people in that.
If you have a couple extra toys, Adam, technology, you grow with technology.
Sure.
Like your series look and all that.
If we were shooting the Kiss concert today, we would probably have digital crowds so that, if we had 1,000 extras, we could make it look like we had 20,000 extras.
And you wouldn't be able to tell the difference?
You would never be able to tell the difference. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's probably all.
What piece of equipment would you haul in for that concert that's new, that wasn't around 16 years ago?
All the new equipment that I would be using would be post-production equipment. I wouldn't bring anything onto the set different than I had there. I had cranes. I had everything I needed. Mm-hmm. It's all the post-production stuff that we would have. And it existed then, of course, but it's a lot more affordable now.
What's the weirdest in-trailer behavior you've ever encountered directing one of your films?
In trailer behavior?
Yeah, like, I heard Antonio Banderas was banging Melanie Griffith, on the set of whatever movie, nonstop. What goes on in these trailers? You've been around.
Here's the problem with my movies. My movies generally are made on a real budget.
You don't get a trailer.
We can't afford trailers. So as a result, there's not nearly the shenanigans on my movies. Plus, we're always racing against the clock to get done in time.
Right.
Because we never have enough time to have really good outtakes or fool around. A lot of sets you hear stories about practical jokes. We don't have time for practical jokes.
Just get it done.
We just got to get it done.
Oh, right on. All right. Any final thoughts on Detroit Rock City?
My main thought is I just want to say thank you to all the fans who have made Detroit Rock City a cult classic. Like I said, the movie was not successful theatrically, but thanks to people discovering it and introducing other people to it and rediscovering it again, it has withstood the test of time and has become a classic, and it means the world to me, and I just want to thank everybody for that. And like Tim said, if everybody supports the Blu-ray and votes with their dollars, Warner Brothers said that they would do more special editions down the road. So.
Cool. Since Detroit Rock City, studies have shown there have been a lot more sexual encounters in confessionals. So do you take pride in that, Adam?
It's a personal triumph. I take that as a personal triumph. Yes.
If you're going to lose your virginity, isn't that the holy place to do it?
That's the perfect place to do it.
Hopefully without a priest present.
That's right.
You were talking about not having enough for trailers and a budget and doing it and getting it done. That has to be the case for Giuseppe Makes a Movie.
Well, Giuseppe, it's funny you should bring that up. My documentary, Giuseppe Makes a Movie, has a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Did I mention that to you?
I love Rotten Tomatoes. Always have. They do good work over there at Rotten Tomatoes.
I will tell you this: for those folks out there who don't know, I met Giuseppe Andrews while making Detroit Rock City.
Yes, Lex.
He played Lex in Detroit Rock City, and while the other kids between takes would be off smoking the dope, Giuseppe,
during filming, they smoke pot?
Believe it or not.
How do you maintain a focus and make a film if you're high? I've never been high. I don't know.
It was a challenge at times. I'll be honest with you. But
with whom?
With some of the cast members.
Eddie Furlong was a big time star by then.
He was a big time star. Absolutely true.
All right, and then what about Huntington? He looked clean cut.
He was a clean cut kid.
Okay, then the last one.
Hawk and Tripp had a little fun on the side, but Giuseppe would sit on the set and want to talk movies. He would watch. He loved foreign films. He would watch Fassbender films, Buñuel films, Ingmar Bergman films, Werner Herzog films, and all he wanted to do was talk about them and talk about the fact that he wanted to be a filmmaker one day, and he wanted to learn filmmaking by watching me. And I was very encouraging to him, and I said, you could absolutely be a filmmaker. And the good news is, and I say this to everybody, but I said it to him at the time, the technology has caught up with people's ambition. If you want to make a movie, you don't have to wait for permission anymore. You don't need millions of dollars. If you really wanted to make a movie bad enough, you could shoot it on a camcorder, shoot it with your friends. You could make something great. Just take it seriously and do a good job. And boy, did he take me at my word, because he then went on to become...
Adam Rifkin taking credit for Giuseppe Andrews' greatness as a filmmaker right here, right now. Go ahead, sweep the carpet from underneath him. Go ahead, Adam. This is really good.
That's right. He then went about making... He then became a maverick filmmaker. He lives in a trailer park in Ventura with his dad.
Describe it.
Have you? It's pretty much looks like every other trailer park.
No. Some of them have a Mayberry, RFD, Andy Griffith kind of a vibe to it, where it looks very safe, right?
No, this one is not like that.
Then describe it. If I didn't have the benefit of sight, Adam, describe Giuseppe's living.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: the movie is about, the documentary follows Giuseppe as he makes one of his many maverick independent films, because he's a maverick filmmaker now, and he stars as his cast of players in all his films, all the homeless people and winos and derelicts that live in and around his trailer park. And they're the craziest movies you've ever seen. And he
screens them for you. Is that correct?
Yes, he would drive over to my house. Well, his father would drive him over to my house.
He doesn't drive?
He doesn't drive. His father would wait in the car outside.
Is that eclectic? Is that a choice? Is it
That
physical?
is a choice. That's a choice. He refuses to drive.
Why? Because it's too society?
He saw an accident on PCH, saw 3 people dead, never wants to drive.
Wow.
And he would
did not know that.
He would bring over these films that he made. He made them for nothing, for hundreds of dollars.
Give me a synopsis of one of those that he brought over.
Well, the one that I made the documentary about him making was called Garbanzo Gas, and it's about a cow that is given an all-expense-paid vacation from the slaughterhouse for a long weekend to experience freedom before being brought back to the slaughterhouse to be slaughtered at the end of the movie.
How long is that film?
85 minutes. It's a feature-length film.
Do you ever have in an 85-minute film, do you ever have is it gripping, or is it like highs and lows?
I wouldn't say gripping ever applies, but I would say shocking applies. His movies are the most shocking, most unusual, most unbelievable things you've ever seen, and they never let up.
80 minutes of shocking. How do you keep the shock prolonged?
You have to just watch and see. I mean, it defies description. He makes these films. They're the most unbelievably written, crazy, insane stories, and the dialogue is all part of his artistic expression. All the dialogue is this sort of lyrical, poetic, profanity, and all the people in the films are these crazy homeless people.
Who's the audience for Giuseppe's films?
He's got a very small but very loyal fan base.
Really? Tell me about them.
They're kooky people who like crazy films. I'm one of them, and I recommend people check him out. But the documentary about him and about the making of one of his films is called Giuseppe Makes a Movie, and it was released this past year, and it traveled around the country and played a bunch of film festivals, and it is now available on VOD, iTunes, Amazon, stuff like that, and it's coming out on Blu-ray and VHS.
Wow.
This summer.
Giuseppe Makes a Movie is the documentary. Okay, so I know we've talked about this briefly, but this took you a couple days physically. You were there.
I was in Ventura filming the documentary over the course of a long weekend.
Did you ever have a moment where you thought you might be in danger?
No, and I'll tell you why. Any one of the people that he works with, if you saw them coming down the street, you would cross to the other side because you would fear for your life.
Sure.
But the whole point of the documentary is that Giuseppe has created a family unit out of these people. Mm-hmm. He has given this group of crazy homeless people this sense of belonging, this sense of community. He treats them like family. He treats them like movie stars.
He's like the cinematic Moses.
In a way, on a smaller scale.
Because he shares the money, right?
He shares the money. That's right.
Break that down for me. What money is there? I mean, what budget does he have? What does he take in?
Well, the money that he made Garbanzo Gas, which is the movie that he's making for the documentary. He made Garbanzo Gas for $1,000.
And who fronts that grand?
That came from a residual check. He made a residual check, got $1,000.
Could have been Detroit Rock City.
It could have very well been.
Okay.
Yeah. And he made the movie, and he pays them to be in it, and they all show up, not just for the money, though. They do it because they feel like they're creative. They're his muses, and he's their sort of Pied Piper.
What's the tone? What are they rated?
His movies are rated X, but they're not because of sex. They're not sexual. They are the most profane movies. The dialogue. He can't afford special effects. He can't afford production value. So he told me that the dialogue is his production value. The ideas are his production value. Adam,
I know you're not an actor. You're a filmmaker, a great one, and a great writer. But I want you to take a line from Giuseppe Makes a Movies. You're talking about this language. Give me a little taste of what is being said as far as dialogue.
Well, you got to hear it coming from the mouths of these people. But there's a woman in many of his films named Gail Wells, who's a little old lady, a little old lady who at the time he was working with her was dying of cancer. Oh. Very frail little old woman who loved being in the films.
Wow!
And one of her lines to one of the homeless people is, "Shut your fucking mouth! You smell like you just ate a cum-filled burrito."
Giuseppe makes a movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
But I want to say that his movies are outrageous and they're insane and they're profane. But the movie is touching, believe it or not.
so there's an arc and a heart to these things?
The whole thing is about heart. The whole documentary is about heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you going to go back and do it again, another documentary? Or did you say what you had to say and you're out?
I said what I had to say and I was out.
So that's it?
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody else will have to do it if they want to do it.
Yeah, but I don't think Giuseppe would allow another documentary to be made about him. You know, this was a moment in time that I got a chance to capture.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Giuseppe makes a movie. The one and only Adam Rifkin. Follow him on Twitter at Adam Rifkin. And if you want Detroit Rock City, we're giving these away. Follow The Popcorn Talk, follow Movie Interview, and follow Adam Rifkin, and you might win this beautiful DVD. And we're also going to have a screening, and we're going to invite you, too. So thank you, Kevin Undergaro, Maria Menounos, producer Steven, and, of course, Buddy, come back anytime. Let's talk movies.
Love to.
Yes. I'm going to have one of those burritos right now. We'll see you right next time on the Film Freak Movie Interview.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.